morning.
Morning.
How we doing?
Good.
Good. Okay.
So, Coach, without Dorian in this spring, has that kind of changed maybe what you do during practice? Are you spending more time with the quarterbacks, a little evaluation, more time in the quarterback room, would you say?
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, we got new players at all positions, so we try and observe. And Gundy does a great job with those guys, so I don't need to micromanage what Gundy does with those guys. So, and then we film everything, so if you weren't there for a drill, you can go back and see the drill. And we watch everything. I mean, literally everything that we do from the start of pre-practice to the end of practice is filmed. So if you miss something, you can go back and get it during the day. And that's why the beauty of the spring is we go every other day. So practice Tuesday, practice Thursday, practice Saturday. So we got a lot of time in between to make sure that we get a chance to observe everything. So.
Have you been doing? You mentioned a lot of new guys.
Mm-hmm.
Do you specifically spend a lot of time watching that film to watch them overall, would you say, just to get a handle on the new faces?
No, because we've been with these guys since January, so you know they were in here for workouts, so you get a chance to see the movement patterns and what they can do. And KB did a great job. We kept that whole group together. All the kids that enrolled in January were in the same group, so we got a chance to watch those guys from 5 days a week since January. So you got a good feel for how they interact, what they're like as teammates, what their movement skills are, and then it's just football. So we're watching everybody and everybody.
Given the depth at interior defensive lineman, it would seem Keanu Williams has a chance to step up, play a lot, play a major role. What have you seen from him?
We've had 3 days with him, and he's been really good in the 3 days that we've had him. So we got a long way to go with all those guys. So it's they're learning something new, but we do have depth. I've been in that meeting with Ikaika. He's doing a great job with those guys. And, I think he's a big body. He's really sharp. He's picked things up very quickly. I'm excited about where he is after 3 days.
And speaking of Ikaika, obviously now he's got the defensive line on top of his outside linebacker coaching duties. What did you like about that move and putting him there?
Well, keeping the four of those guys together. There's a lot of work that the DTs and the outside backers do in terms of rush games and things like that. And he's just such a great teacher. It was kind of a natural progression to have him handle all those guys, and they all the interior guys really take to his coaching very well, and enjoy being around him. So I always felt that, in this day and age with college football, you're playing so many DBs. At times you got 6 DBs on the field. You got one guy coaching 6 guys, and then you got 3 other coaches coaching 1 or 2 guys. So it really was just to split up the secondary more than anything. So because we're going to play with 5 DBs most of the time, and you're going to play with 6 DBs a lot of the time. So to make sure that our DBs aren't caught short, to break up the corners and the safeties was something we thought was really important to do. And so that was just a natural byproduct of that, as in Ikaika has to take over 2 other guys on the inside, and that's really what happened. But we felt like we wanted to get another coach in the secondary. Most teams in college football are moving that way to multiple secondary coaches, just because you're playing multiple DBs all the time. So.
You talked about you talked about Carson Steele last week a little bit. Who are some other guys at the running back position that could be vying for a lot of reps?
Well, they all are. I mean, TJ Horton obviously is the one returner back there that finished really well, played great in our bowl game for us. Teach has picked up kind of where he's left off. Big physical kid that can do a lot of different things. Keegan obviously has played a ton of football for us going into. He's been here for a long time. And then Colson Yankoff, who's really coming into his own as a running back. He's moved around, played multiple positions for us, but he's healthy for the first time, going through a spring for the first time in a long time. He's up to 230 pounds. He's doing a good job. And then Anthony Atkins from Army, an Army transfer, has done a really nice job. He's another big back. So I think one of the things that has happened with that group is it's just gotten a lot bigger. We're really TJ and Keegan are the smaller guys in the group, and then Carson's obviously bigger than those guys, and then Colson and Anthony are bigger than both. They're bigger than Carson. So we got some size at that position. We have some depth at that position. So we'll continue to see how those guys fit in the scheme.
Do you envision having like a 2-back system, or is it too early to tell?
We're always multiple on offense. We can play multiple tight ends. We can play multiple running backs. We can play multiple receivers. That's a good part about the depth that we have. So, I think there'll be some times where there are 2 running backs in the backfield. There were times last year when we did that. There'll be times when we have 3 tight ends on the field. There'll be times when we have no tight ends and just one running back and 4 receivers. So it really just depends on the situation that comes up football-wise, but it's good to have that kind of depth where you can play multiple guys.
Chip, a couple weeks back, Derek said that D'Anton, the scheme hadn't changed much defensively. It's pretty similar on D'Anton. And have you seen any just kind of new concepts, terminology that?
Yeah, there's a few of those things. I don't think we were conscious not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but he obviously brings some new ideas. From where he was in the NFL and his time at Houston and time in Baltimore. So there's some different things there, but I think we try to make things seem similar for our players just so they can grasp them. Maybe some of the terminology Danton adapted to our guys, and then sometimes our guys have to adapt to Danton. So it's just a combination of both. But those guys have picked it up pretty quickly, and we'll continue. But we've been very, very slow in our install on the defensive side of the ball just to make sure that we've got a really good footing now. So as we continue to get out here, this is week 2 for us of 5 weeks. So they'll start to add some new things this week, and we'll get a chance to work on it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week.
What are you seeing about just his style as a younger kind of guy? Is there anything different, that you feel like he does just as a?
No, the one thing I love about Danny is there's a real maturity there. I think he's very measured in how he approaches things. Very well thought out. He doesn't speak before he thinks. He thinks everything through before he talks. He's a very good teacher. Education is the transportation of knowledge. He does a great job of transporting that knowledge to our players when we sit in the meeting room with him. So really, his teaching style I think fits really well, especially with the type of kids we have here. We have some really smart kids here because of the school and the academic qualifications to get in here. So he's adapted really well from that standpoint.
Last week, Colin said there was sort of a learning curve going from simple offense to obviously the complex stuff we do here. What have you seen from him in early times, with adjusting to the new system?
Yeah, Colin's been great. I think he can handle anything that you throw at him. He's got a very quick mind. He was a really, really good basketball player coming out of high school, so he was offered a lot of basketball scholarships. He can think quickly on his feet and react quickly on his feet. So it's just a matter of what we can put on his plate as he continues to grow. And for all those quarterbacks, Ethan's the only one who's taking significant snaps for us, but you can't discount the amount of snaps that Colin's had in his career. He's played college football, so he's been out there. I think it's a different game, especially for a quarterback. They don't get hit in practice. Practice and a game are really 2 different things for a quarterback. Every other position, practice and games are very similar, but for the quarterback, it's a little different. So I think he can count on that experience that he has. Whether we called it one thing, he was at Kent State, they called it another, or we add another layer to something. He's picked everything up really from.
Then the tight end competition seems like it might be kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but from your point of view, has anyone stood out there? And does it really matter if one guy kind of separates himself from the rest, or do you want a rotation there anyways?
Yeah, we want the best players to play. So, obviously the more depth you have, the better it is. But, we've got a few guys that, some guys that have played most, played a ton of football in his career already. Hudson's played a lot of football for us. Jack Peterson has played a little bit for us. Carson Ryan is not 100% yet, but still doing some things. Played a lot of football for us in the first 5 games of last year. So we have some depth there. It's just a matter of trying to see if we can put them in a position where, that they fit the best. And, who's the best at each role. Because that position can be totally different. From being an on-the-ball wide tight end to being a movement kind of H tight end is a little bit different deal, even though they're both quote-unquote tight ends. But the more versatile those guys are, the better they are. So I could see us playing some multiple tight end formations because of the guys we have.
You alluded to it a little earlier, but bringing Kodi in as a new cornerbacks coach, obviously you had time with him as a grad assistant previously. Mm-hmm. How does that familiarity help?
It helps. I think our players really understand him. He had a huge impact when he was here as a GA. He really coached our strikers. Coach Az did a great job and trusted him enough when he was here, to let him coach that position a little bit. And I always felt that Kodi was going to be a real star in this profession. He's sharp, he's articulate, he relates well to our players, does a great job, and we were really excited to get an opportunity to get him back here.
Coach, what have you seen from some of the younger offensive linemen like Bruno Fina, Sam Yoon, Noah?
All doing a really good job, taking advantage, obviously, with Neo and Johnny Gunn. Couple openings there. Just trying to figure out, what's the best combination of 5, and we don't need to know that until we're about a week out of Coastal. So, but all those guys have played really well. They've done a nice job in the off-season program. And that's the point for us, is we wanted to give that whole winter quarter to just the off-season program, and KB does such a good job with those guys. So they've transitioned really well into what we've done this week, and all those guys are getting a ton of reps, because we do get a lot of reps in our training sessions. So you learn by doing, and those guys have been eating it up like a sponge. And Joe's doing a really nice job with those guys. So I'm excited about what that looks like. I think Duke and Garrett have really kind of stepped up as leaders in that group, but the rest of those young guys have come along really well. So we're excited about that there also.
How is Bill McGovern doing, and what are his responsibilities in his new role?
Yeah, Billy's doing good. He's battling. He's here a couple days a week when it fits into his treatment schedule, and he's done a lot of film work for us, and breakdowns and analytical things where you can break down tape. We can give him some projects in terms of, blitz packages and things like that people are doing at the next level, and kind of how does that translate. He's helped Dan a ton, Dan just getting a chance to pick Billy's brain and talk to him a little bit about the players in our program and his evaluations of them and what he feels like their best strengths and weaknesses are. And then we're all kind of using him as a resource just as a football standpoint. So he's doing well, but he's really helping us a ton off the field right now.
What's your relationship with him like?
Excuse me?
What's your relationship with him like?
I love Billy. Billy is a special human being, and we're fortunate that we get a chance to have him be around us. So he's as good as I get in this profession.
Chip, any thoughts on the spring game this year?
We haven't had a spring game for a couple of years. I think we do so much situational work. We have referees here for 5 days, so we do all of that situational work. We'll do a lot of red zone work and third down work with them when they come in again this week. Everything for us is just trying to get better. And I think the spring for all of us is just how do you get really better at it. We learned through the COVID process when we went through that spring. We had the similar schedule. It felt like that was the best thing for us. We're maximizing our teaching days. I think you get 34 days to get 15 practices, and we're going to use them all just so that we really spend a lot of time. You get 20 hours a week in the off season. I mean, this is considered in season for us, but we only practice 6 hours a week. So we get 14 hours a week of meetings and things like that. And really, the spring is for us to teach and get our players ready for the fall. So, to us, it's how many different situational things can you get into. Sometimes the spring game, you don't get to express those things, because the ball may not get into the red zone or the ball doesn't get into a coming out situation. We feel like we can get more work than the way we're doing it right now. It's benefited us the last 2 years, so we're going to continue to stay on that path. We're good? We're good.